Are we getting a Bullet Club reunion in AEW, or are we getting a Generation Me return to Impact Wrestling? I don't know, but I am Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen. We will be reviewing AEW Fyter Fest Night 1. Sorry, I didn't say it right. AEW Fyter Fest Night 1 very shortly, but first we're going to talk about a very interesting tweet that I've already seen one person reply to. Can't wait to see the speculative headlines on this one, which is Carl Anderson, the released back in mid-April member of the OC, along with Luke Gallows and Anderson, formerly of New Japan, formerly of the Bullet Club. Earlier this week, they were reportedly confirmed to have signed with Impact Wrestling in a deal that includes them also being able to work for New Japan when that is available to do so. And here I see, on July the 1st, yesterday, at 6:50 p.m., shortly before Fyter Fest, a photo of Gallows, Anderson, and the Young Bucks in what seems to be a hotel room / conference center room.
And it wasn't just Carl Anderson that tweeted it. The Bucks account also tweeted out this same photo as well.
So, speculation mania run wild. These are two free agents. I would have assumed that the Impact deal that they signed earlier this week on Monday, apparently, would have meant they cannot wrestle for other North American promotions. However, that wasn't really how Impact were doing things before lockdown. They were actually being very open, saying, come and work for us, and you can still wrestle for Ring of Honor, wrestle for AEW, wrestle for New Japan. It's more the other promotions' problems that they don't want their wrestlers appearing for other promotions in North America. So could we see the first ever AEW, Impact, and New Japan tag team here?
I think it's completely possible. I think that it is certainly not without question that we will see the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson in AEW at some point, because the connections are just there. Let's be honest. This photo was tweeted out to work the marks, and look at us as marks here, getting worked, and that's fine. That's kind of a wonderful attitude to take, really. They put this up so that we can get excited and start speculating, so let's get excited and speculate away. And I think we could certainly see Good Brothers in AEW as well as Impact. It depends on really how long they're going to be in Impact for. Are they signing with them full time? Is it just for a certain number of shows? Is it just until the restrictions are lifted and they can go over to New Japan? We don't really know what the sort of the deals are that are in place for them.
Yeah, I think right now it wouldn't be a shrewd business move to lock yourself up for a multi-year deal, unless you're with WWE, in which that seems to be the only style of contract they offer, multi-years. For everyone else, even before lockdown, the aim of the game was to play all of these major promotions off each other to increase your own worth. And the Good Brothers are quite famously good at doing that. Just last April or July time, actually, they got massive deals out of WWE for multi-years because they played them off the threat of going to AEW. Mm-hmm. But then WWE went and released them. So I think this is it's definitely very possible. Should it happen? I think is another question.
That's what I was going to ask, because one of the victims, I feel, on this episode of Fyter Fest, or night 1 of Fyter Fest, was Santana and Ortiz. In such for a team that are one of the best tag teams on the planet, they feel like not even third, fourth, fifth wheel. They feel so unimportant in AEW because we've been saying over the last few weeks, crikey, what a stacked tag division they've got. There's almost too many good teams. Yeah, and actually, there are too many good teams in AEW, and you can't all be pushed at the same time. We talked about Deonna Purrazzo choosing to go to Impact over AEW, and I said I probably would have made the same choice because they're treating their women's division brilliantly, and over in AEW, you're not really getting a whole lot. If you're Gallows and Anderson, and you're looking at that stacked tag division, what are you looking like? Where do we slot in here? There's too many big fish in this pond could go to Impact where we can be the big fish, or go to New Japan where we can be the big fish, and just not get lost in the shuffle, which is what happened to them in WWE.
Yeah, getting lost in the shuffle is one of the main things here. Not just in a very deep tag division, but also during a time when there are too many debuts or returns or whatever. I don't know about you, but back in the day, if I ever got a big load of birthday money from my nan and granddad, along with my mum and dad, I would go down and I would just splurge on 2 to 3 video games. But I would only ever play one of those video games. Even though I want them all. Even though I bought them all. 2 would become the runts, because my brain, and I would argue our collective fan base consciousness, can only really deal with treating a big star debuting every 3 months.
Yeah, and I think AEW could probably do with one under their belt. Like, I feel like we haven't had a big debut in AEW since Moxley, like in Double or Nothing last year, because every other debut they've tried to do, Luther did not really go down particularly well. Butcher and Blade didn't particularly go down very well. Actually, on the same show, Smash Brothers, Dark Order didn't go down particularly well. So I feel like they could do with like a big Brian Cage, I think, is probably the best one they've had thus far, like outside of Moxley. So maybe they could do with it, but at the same time, if Impact are going to be doing loads of big debuts at Slammiversary, is they're going to get lost in the news cycle that AEW also have some of the ex-WWE guys showing up.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, we should also mention, of course, Brody Lee and Matt Hardy were really cool. They came on the same show, though, and it was without fans. Unfortunately, they weren't home runs. That's kind of nobody's fault, though. FTR, that was a really cool debut, but I wouldn't say it was, of the level as some debuts and returns in WWE have been. It'll be another. You don't want to have the stigma of being the promotion where all of WWE's cast-offs go.
Like, they've already got that. Like, there is a certain group of fans that already think that's what AEW is. They don't call them TNA 2.0 for a reason.
Well, let's see what your super chats have to say.
You're all right back there.
Well, that's my lady partner, or my partner rather. She didn't have lunch in time, so she's preparing lunch right now, aren't you? Yeah, she is, and she's making too much noise, isn't she? Yes. I'm only kidding.
I dropped the scissors.
She dropped some scissors. Are you okay?
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
She's okay.
It sounded bigger than scissors. It sounded like she dropped a whole rack from the oven.
She's attention seeking. Don't play into it. So get in your super chats throughout the show. We will get to every single one of them on the subject of the Bullet Club. We should point out actually as well that the Young Bucks and Gallows and Anderson were featured in that photo, that tweeted out image. But it's not like they're the only Bullet Club members who have emerged in AEW. Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page. Anyone else?
I think that's it for now.
Yeah, I mean, Bullet Club's a big faction.
There's lots of them.
But there's already 5 Bullet Club members there, so it would be exciting to see how they interweave their shared history, as Omega is so often very good at booking. So Jobber JJ496 says, feel like Cody matches need months of build for it to work. Storyline made sense for Dustin to run out, but the last 2 Cody matches are slightly overbooked.
Yeah, I mean, you said this in your review, and I suppose we'll get into it when we get to the main portion of the show. But yeah, I thought the first half of the show was way better than the second half. And the Cody Hager match was the match I wasn't particularly invested in. I think it's the weakest TNT title match they've had so far, and is arguably the one that's had the most build. So it didn't really work for me, that match.
I'll just read this out as well because I've seen it. Josh to Dominic's best Hager match ever. Cody can't have a bad match.
I mean, it might be Hager's best match in AEW. Although, I mean, I know some people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed the empty arena match he had with Moxley.
I really liked the pay-per-view match against Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, totally.
I thought that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I think he's had good matches.
Dylan from Cork. If the OC go to AEW, I hope we get to see a Carl Anderson singles run.
Yes, please.
P.S. Sorry for missing the quiz last night. I was a bit ill, and me and Ashleen are saving money for our new apartment. Jam that jam.
Well, best of luck to you. I hope
there,
you're feeling better.
Yes, this is... I just can't believe how... Well, no, I can totally believe why Carl Anderson didn't get more singles matches and pushes in WWE, but he is a phenomenal singles wrestler. Go back and watch him. It must have been like the 2016 G1 tournament. Oh my God. He is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It sucks that he was just given that tag role. You know, he had singles matches, but can you name a singles match that was like more than 5 minutes? Like it wasn't a proper singles run. But yeah, I'd love to see him get a singles run.
The Bullet Club, the OC are kind of, they're not, I'm never like super into their matches, even their New Japan ones that I've seen. It was not like I was crazy into them, but I'm very much into their charisma and their presence. And, you know, their Gallows especially is a lot more physically imposing than a lot of the tag division, I would argue. So I think they would be, they could give a nice, almost sports entertainment-y feel to that tag division to balance out the very wrestling focused or lucha focused parts of it. But yeah, overall, I'm not crazy excited about them potentially going there.
I'll go the opposite way. I am excited about the potential of Gallows and Anderson in the same way that I was excited about FTR going to AEW, because I'm like, finally, like, you know, this great tag team can get a really good run in this place. But at the same time, I am also looking at what is an incredibly stacked division and what happened to, you know, Santana and Ortiz, that, like, I have no idea why they lost on this show. Like, I get it because you're trying to push the Hardy thing, but like, there's way more mileage in pushing Santana and Ortiz at the moment than there is Private Party with Matt Hardy. So yeah, like, so I'm looking at Santana and Ortiz being like, man, maybe it's too stacked of a division at this point.
Yeah, well, let's get into the rest of the show and talk about our thoughts on Fyter Fest. Of course, jam that jam, folks. Get your t-shirts at WrestleTalkMerch.com. There's loads of fantastic merchandise up there. And if you order a Jam That Jam shirt before the 15th of July, I think, or maybe the 14th of July, because the winner's announced on the 15th of July, sometime in mid-July, you could win a signed Quizzlemania trophy from Adam Blompier. Incredible.
And speaking of Quizzlemania, if you checked out yesterday's Quizzlemania, you will have seen Denise Salzado from Fightful on the show. She also works for many other places, but she's doing some work with Fightful at the moment with that dickhead Sean Ross Sapp. And good news, folks. She's going to be on the podcast tomorrow. She's going to be on the magazine podcast with myself tomorrow, talking about the wrestling news world and going through your Patreon mailbag questions.
It'll be a corker. So, thoughts on Fyter Fest. I'm glad you said the same thing, because I did that thing where I was like, well, I know how I feel in the immediate aftermath after watching it. I wonder how the internet feels. And the internet felt differently to me. And it made me scared of saying...
How did the internet feel about it?
The internet thought it was really good.
I feel like you are singing from the same hymn sheet on this one, in that I thought this was a really good show. This was 100% a 4 out of 5 show. Like, but and the reason why I don't think it was a 5 out of 5 show is because I put too much expectation on the main event. Like, I was expecting Best Friends versus Paige and Omega to be amazing. And when it ended, and I felt like it ended abruptly, like, I thought there was another 5 to 10 minutes. I felt we were just getting into the final sequence of things, and then the match just ended, and I was like, and then, you know, the show came to an end, and I was like, well, I don't think the match ran short then, as obviously the time that it was allotted. It just felt like it didn't get the time that it should have done. And I also think that the second half of the show, because the first half of the show had such limited ad breaks, felt like it had more and longer ad breaks, which broke up the flow of matches. So it didn't really feel like the big pay-per-view experience, because during the ad breaks, you just have to do the heel works over the baby face while we get into the hot tag sequence, for example. So I thought the first half of the show was terrific, though. Like the tag match with Jurassic Express and Wardlow and MJF was awesome. The Hikaru Shida Penelope Ford match was awesome. That was so good. But overall, I came away thinking, being like, yeah, that was really good, as opposed to being like, oh man, that was awesome, which is what I did coming out of Double or Nothing.
Yeah, well, we should point out that Double or Nothing, All Out, Full Gear,
Yeah, Revolution.
Those shows are proper pay-per-view events. This was more akin to you've got the, oh my god, what was the cage one called with Wardlow and Cody? No.
Yeah. God, what was that called?
That had a name, but also there was Bash at the Beach as well on the boat, and we had that cage match with Cody and Wardlow. We had a title change for on the Bash at the Beach. That brilliant match between
the Jericho Cruise ones,
the SCU and Page and Omega, where they first won the belts, and that's what I'm basing my expectations off of, not off the Double or Nothing and the big pay-per-view shows. I mean, this is like the TV pay-per-view events, which I think is such a good idea to do. Maybe it's because this is a 2-night thing, and AEW might be looking at literally this is the undercard to night 2's main card.
Yeah, kind of like how Wrestle Kingdom had that. Like this year's Wrestle Kingdom felt like the first night didn't feel quite as big as the second night.
Yeah, like this is the go-home show to that actual Fyter Fest next week, which is, as we found out, the go-home show to Fight for the Fallen the following week.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I was totally the same. I loved the first 45, 50 minutes of this, which was the tag match, the women's match. And after that, I just felt like it wasn't just me. I felt like some atmosphere was just let out of the arena. Like it went and it never quite recovered. I don't know if that's Jericho coming off commentary.
Yeah, because he was only off commentary for the main event. And I did feel that during that main event, I mean, one of my notes I've got written down is, God, I wish this was in front of a crowd. Because I think a big crowd would have really helped push this forward. But I don't know how long that main event went. But as I said, I feel like it had another 5-10 minutes in it to really push it over the edge for, it was still and here's the thing. It's still the best, it was one of the best matches that we're going to get on TV this week, because it was better than any match we got on Raw, because, they were only 5 to 7 minutes long each. This actually felt like it was a proper match. I haven't seen NXT yet, but I believe that was also a really good show. I believe the Timothy Thatcher Oney Lorcan match was awesome, as was the main event. But I'll be very interested to see the ratings for this, considering that NXT won last week, to see if the pull of Banks versus Shirai is going to be big or bigger than Omega Page versus Best Friends, particularly. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll be very interested to see the ratings pattern this week. But
one of the theories coming out of why Jericho and Cassidy did so badly last week, that main event segment, lowest rated segment in AEW history, Meltzer said that the AEW crowd tunes in for matches, whereas the WWE and NXT crowd often tune in for segments. So maybe because this is a show built around matches, it might do better. If it doesn't, it's quite concerning, really. It would be very interesting to see the ratings come out later today.
Yeah, no, completely. But overall, as I said, I want to sound like I'm down on this show, because I did very much enjoy the show. It's just that considering that the last few weeks of Dynamite have been really good shows, I think in some cases have been excellent shows. This felt like just another excellent show, as opposed to being a amazing show, which you would expect a sort of pay-per-view caliber show to be.
Well, I think the last few weeks of Dynamite were better than this episode.
In some cases, yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So the show kicked off with there was Razzmatazz for the set. We had the girls in bikinis that are ironically objectified. Ironically, what a strange argument to make, isn't it? Well, we're going to do it ironically, but you're still totally doing it. I've got no problem with it. I think it's fun. And Chris Jericho coming out in a full Canada flag jacket.
For Canada Day, the greatest country on this earth of ours. And he looked awesome. Loved the Canada jacket. He brought up Canada Day so much throughout this show. What a wonderfully proud Canadian he is.
Still the best color commentator working today. It's a shame he's not on it more. It's a shame he was taken off after his Orange Cassidy brawl. I would have loved for him to have called the main event, because he really, like, a Jericho on commentary is probably the same as 2,000 people in the stadium.
He's very loud.
Yeah. But the opening match was MJF and Wardlow versus Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. MJF cut an excellent promo to kick this off.
Yeah, absolutely. Saying, like, I'm tired of beating these guys. Like, and he was like kind of making fun. I felt like he was making fun of you, calling his feud with Jungle Boy the eternal feud. I felt like I was like, oh, he's taking a shot at Ollie Davis here. And he's doing something about how the Luchasaurus is an idiot and Jack Perry is just spending all of his dad's money. He had an amazing tweet the other way where he was just like, people are saying that, you know, I'm white privileged, but he was born into loads of money. I wasn't. You know, I've worked to get to where I am. He's got the other one's got a doctorate and he's wasting it by doing a stupid dinosaur gimmick. It was amazing stuff. And then said, we're in a ratings war, so you book MJF in a match. Oh, I think it was amazing.
Is that the first time anyone in this whole fiasco has ever acknowledged publicly it is a ratings war?
I think possibly, yeah.
Because both sides are always like, no, we're just going to do our thing. They're going to do their thing. This was very cathartic to hear MJF say. I thought, yeah, it was a great promo to get over MJF. But I feel like, well, I thought I felt like I had sort of gotten over shoot style promos. I used to live for shoot promos. Any little bit of realism in when John Cena would tease a heel turn by literally turning his heel, I'd be like, I think it's just from wanting the CM Punk pipe bomb promo. I just want that high again. It's like, that's my first heroin high.
Yeah.
And
podcast ruined everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, podcast killed the shoot interview industry. And I think that has also then killed shoot interviews on TV. Social media's ruined everything, man.
Yeah, because and there's been so many, and you're like, well, it's a work shoot promo. No one's really, I appreciate the effort for realism, but this promo, the sort of balance he got from deep cuts and kayfabe, I thought was perfect.
Yeah,
and it reawakened that sort of drama hungry, gossip mongering part of me that I miss.
Do you know
the worst part of me?
Do you know why I think it might have worked for you? And it's the same reason why I think the Taz sort of almost shootish promo that he cut later on in the show worked, is because it's tied into the character and story. It's not just shoot for the sake of shoot. It's not just saying things because, like, oh, you might have read this in the dirt sheets. It's all tied into MJF's character and the story that he's telling with Jungle Boy. And the same with Taz. Like, Taz's comments, you could say, like, oh man, Taz shoots on WWE. But really, it was like, no, Taz was cutting a promo on Jon Moxley, the character, as a character to put over Brian Cage, the character, and the story that these characters are doing. So I think you can do it in a really smart way like that.
Yeah, I never thought of that. You're probably right. That's why the Punk one works so well.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It was all story. But yeah, it was followed by an absolutely terrific, really fun, fast-paced match.
So good. And, this was the only match of the night that didn't get the ad break. And I think sometimes it really shows how much those ad breaks can hurt the flow of a match, because this just flowed and flowed and flowed. And it was so, so good. Jericho not showing up about Godzilla movies, and then getting into an argument with Tony Schiavone about whether or not Luchasaurus is Mothra or Ghidorah really, really tickled me. And then when they did the quadruple down, and then Jungle Boy and MJF kip up at the same time, and then Luchasaurus and Wardlow kip up at the same time. Like, I was on the edge of my seat for this. And we got the big Canadian Destroyer spot. Happy Canada Day for Chris Jericho. I just thought it was so, so great. And I loved the finish.
Yeah, so the finish was, well, Marco Stunt had already tried to get involved, but Wardlow was having none of that. Used him as a human torpedo against Jungle Boy. But then MJF goes to use the diamond ring on, was it Luchasaurus?
Luchasaurus, yeah.
And Luchasaurus ducks, and MJF just about stops himself from hitting Wardlow. MJF's like, what are you doing, you stupid Wardlow? You should have held him more. And Luchasaurus kicks MJF's arm into Wardlow, knocking him out with the diamond ring. Such a protected weapon. And then Jurassic Express hit a move that I haven't written down for the win.
They had to do loads of moves on him. Like they were really trying to keep Wardlow protected in all of this. Like they had to do the choke slam. He basically sat straight up on this. They had to hit a series of moves after the diamond ring shot to get him to stay down. Which I as I said, I loved that finish. Loved the way they were trying to protect Wardlow. It was in the same with the cage match with Cody. Wardlow lost that match because of that diamond ring again. His 2 losses have both come from that diamond ring. And MJF on Twitter posted up saying well, I still haven't been pinned or defeated in AEW. So it keeps that going as well. I loved this match. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, because it's so good in the moment. It's coming off a really good tangled rivalry between all 4 men. I often think MJF versus Jungle Boy is the big story here, but we're getting a pretty decent Wardlow Luchasaurus rivalry as well. And it's also really good in perpetuity in that these 4 guys, if they keep on this level and rate of growth, they're the future of the company.
Completely.
Very exciting stuff. Really, really fun way to open the show. Then, I hope you like puppies. Jerry Lawler is probably going out of his mind.
Different kind of puppies, mate.
Different kind of puppies, Jerry. Because we're going to get a puppy battle royal next week.
Now, what is a puppy battle royal?
I have no idea. I would only speculate that it is dogs, baby dogs, trying to push each other out of a wrestling ring over the top rope. I don't know.
Are we going to get any ex-WWE puppies in there to be like the big surprise entrance?
I mean, it could turn really dark, and it could be a sort of underground betting scene where the dogs have been starved for weeks and they fight each other.
I don't know, man.
Maybe this was one of those classic misleading promos where it's the cute tease, but actually it's horribly violent, kind of the opposite Funkasaurus.
Yeah, or it's just going to be lovely, wholesome entertainment for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's probably going to be that.
I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. When we do our wild 2020 prediction video, when we did that back in December last year, if you'd have said on that video, I think that AEW are going to have a battle royal with puppies, I'd have been that's the wildest prediction you probably could have given.
But at the same time, this does feel right in the sort of Young Bucks vision of fun, variety, silly, cutesy wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a cat person. You're more of a dog person. Is this getting you going?
I can swing either way, depending on sort of what animal's in front of me. Depending on how big the dog is. I don't like big dogs. Big dogs scare me a little bit. But I do like puppy. Puppies are cool. I think this will be lovely and cute and adorable. So I think it'll be quite a wholesome entertainment next week.
Yeah, it's just dogs in wrestling don't have the most, the best history. I'm thinking Kennel of Hell.
Roman's early push,
Dog food.
Yes,
Baron Corbin, more recently. After that, we got Lance Archer suddenly brawling with Joey Janela at ringside. That was to build their match for next week. And then we got Shida versus Penelope Ford, which was terrific.
Who could have foreseen this match would be this good? Apart from AEW, obviously. But I thought this was awesome. Right from the get-go. When you had Kip Sabian being sent to the back by Aubrey Edwards and him taking the kendo stick to then set that up as the finish for the match. I mean, my notes here are just wow, Ford is really good. She's come on leaps and bounds since signing with AEW. I think she was really great in this match. Then damn, Shida's so good. Shida's great. And I think she's bringing the best out of Ford here. I thought this match was wicked. And there's some amazing near falls that I really bought into.
Yeah, Shida's great. That's nothing new. I'm not going to go over how fantastic she is yet again. She's my favorite. But the thing I was struck by was Penelope Ford, because a lot of the sort of discussion and reviews around this has been, Ford's kind of just getting this because Statlander and other people are injured, Britt Baker as well. So AEW have kind of found themselves at a loss for a women's division. And it made me forget that she was actually, coming out of All In, one of the people I was most into. She was a big part of the Joey Janela Hangman Page match, the one where Jerry Ryan returned at the end with the penis druids.
Yeah.
And Penelope Ford with her sort of somersaults and gymnastic movements and acrobats, she was so cool, and she did a few hardcore spots too. I kind of forgot all that, but here she is as a heel, not as a babyface like she was there, doing all the same kind of very impressive, typically babyface, overly athletic, flippy spots, but she does it in a way that's obnoxious. So it actually comes off heelish, and I think that's incredibly difficult to do something that's so visually impressive and make people boo you still.
I think that's down to her facial reactions as well. Like, she sells really, really well, and she gets across her character in her facial reactions and the way that she carries herself to the ring and carries herself around the ring, particularly around some of those near falls, man. Like, and what a genius little moment they had of this as well, where she goes out to the ring to grab the belt, which distracts Edwards. Kip Sabian appears from nowhere, the kendo stick. Shida pops the kendo stick out of his hand. It feels like it's in the air for about 5 minutes, catches it, hits Kip Sabian. That's a way big baby face thing. But then Penelope gets the roll up. You're like, oh! And then like that was a great near fall, and like the stunner near fall as well. And then Shida hits two running knees and the Falcon Arrow for another near fall, and then has to hit that third running knee to get the final victory. I thought it was brilliant. The ad breaks slowed the pace down, but God, I thought it was great. Really good stuff.
Shida looked great. Ford looked great. What more can you ask for? Very, very good stuff. Argument for match of the night, really.
Yeah, totally.
I really like the tag match as well, but this probably did more for people involved. After that, we got Taz doing one of his sort of sports science bits, but this time there was an agenda to it. It wasn't as objective as normal, because he's going through Moxie's paradigm shift, and he's just saying, yeah, it's a really dangerous move, but won't hurt Brian Cage.
Yeah, I loved it. It's just like, yeah, you see the way that he locks that in? Won't be able to do that on Brian Cage. And then he hits the move. It's really good. Like, it really affects people. Probably not Brian Cage, though. I thought this was amazing stuff.
Taz and Brian Cage are the MVP and Bobby Lashley of AEW. And that's a compliment, because I love both acts.
Yeah, and we were talking about this on Quizlemania in the post show last night. I really do think there's an argument to put the belt on Cage with Taz as manager. I really do think there's an argument for it.
We'll agree to disagree there. So next up, unfortunately, that was all really good. That was a really good episode. And then for me, Fyter Fest just kind of leveled out a bit, really.
Yeah.
In a sort of way. And that was started by Cody Rhodes taking on Jake Hager for the TNT title, a match that has had some build, but unfortunately people and myself just aren't into Jake Hager in the way they need to be for this match to have worked.
Yeah,
because I don't think anyone thought Jake was winning. That's a huge part of the drama with Cody's matches. And I don't really... I'm more into his wife than I am into Jake as a character, as a heel.
Yeah, and there was some shenanigans that was well overbooked by then. But I liked the main finish here. Not all of these. There's a lot of stuff with Arn Anderson in there, lots of stuff with the wife, and then Dustin ran out to punch Hager. So I wasn't into a lot of that stuff, but I did like Hager getting on the head and arm choke and Cody rolling that into a pin, because the way that they had filmed it did actually add quite a lot of confusion to this, which I thought sold Hager's reaction to it all the better from the way that they sort of filmed this. Because when it sort of finished, I was like, oh my God, did Cody tap? I wasn't quite sure. So Hager gets up and he celebrates, but the referee had counted the pin. That's what the sound was that you were hearing. It wasn't, and I just thought they actually filmed it very, very well, and I thought it was very, very effective in that. Yeah, so I liked that finish, but the match overall I thought was fine. It's perfectly fine stuff.
Yeah, it was mostly Hager working over Cody, and not that exciting, really. Maybe because it was lacking that tension of unpredictability. And yeah, I think that finish by itself, as the only bit of extra booking, would have made, oh, actually, what a nice finish. But instead, there were a lot of steps that came before then that sort of undermined it, really, and made it overly cluttered. I think Cody looks at his matches, because sometimes they work so well, like 5-star, my favorite match and I think he approaches his character in his Nightmare Family kind of like how Grant Morrison booked Batman in his run in the comics, where it wasn't just Batman anymore, it was Batman Incorporated. You've got all these characters supporting him, and you kind of make up for stuff Batman can't do as a character by having all these other people. I think Cody looks at that in the Nightmare Family in a similar way, because he's a big Grant Morrison fan, big comic book fan. But I do, as a bit of armchair psychology, is he overbooking stuff because he's not confident in his own ability?
Oh no, I just think that's what he likes. I don't think it's an ability thing. I think that he thinks that it enhances his matches, and maybe it's a way to sort of protect people within those matches and the outcomes of the matches. Maybe I don't know if I would say it's a confidence thing though.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying Cody doesn't have the ability. I'm just armchair psychology, totally.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah,
that if you were hanging around with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and I love Cody, but he isn't of the same sort of in-ring athleticism as those guys. Maybe you do be like, oh, I've got to lean on the blood. Then I've got to lean on the run-ins. I don't know.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, you might be onto something. I don't know the man personally. Maybe you are on something, but I feel it is more just that's the wrestling style that he likes. We sort of about how the Young Bucks really likes that the flippy style and the high spots.
And
Kenny's
puppies.
got his and puppies. Kenny's got his style, and Cody's is that 80s WCW mentality. And and I there's nothing wrong with that. It's worked really well for him in a lot of his matches.
Yeah, I was really getting into his singles matches with the likes of Mark Quinn and Jungle Boy, where there wasn't all of this stuff. So it was, yeah. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. Darby Allin did a really cool little... When did he have this party?
I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping they were all socially distancing from each other. But yeah, he did a video package about not staying at home because, he's been ordered by the AEW doctors to rest up. He's not medically cleared, but here he is doing skate tricks while on fire. And then doing backflips onto the skateboard and cheering with his mates who are filming it for what I assume will be a very cool YouTube video.
That backflip onto a skateboard and then just going down the half pipe. Wow.
Oh God, it's incredible. I mean,
Incredible.
I'm sound like I'm being facetious here when I talk about how it'd be a cool YouTube video. I think it'd be a well cool.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that used to spend most of I completed Tony Hawk's over and over again with everyone because I wanted to unlock everyone's video that you get from it. And I was the guy who would just sit there and watch all those videos because I think they're wicked. I used to buy skate videos back in sort of VHSs I used to buy back in sort of 2000, 2001.
Yeah. After that, we got Private Party versus Proud and Powerful. And sorry for the plosives there. Now, this, off the back of the Hager Rhodes match, which I wasn't really into, I thought this really was not... I don't want to say it wasn't good.
It was a buffer match.
Yeah.
It was a buffer match between the big TNT title match and the main event. And unfortunately, that's how it came across as a buffer match. It was there to just, quite like what you would do to sort of calm the crowds down after the previous big match to then get them excited again for the main event. It didn't go particularly long. A lot of it was ad break. And it was just the heels working over the baby faces in that ad break. Some shenanigans at the end with Matt Hardy stopping them using the slapjack. And then they hit the gin and juice for the win. Ortiz nearly broke it up. But Santana got beat by Matt Hardy on TV. And I figured okay, so they've lost to Hardy here so that they can get the win at the pay-per-view. Then they've just lost at the pay-per-view. So I really felt bad for Santana and Ortiz. like I was talking to Louis about this earlier, and he was like, who have they pissed off? And I was like, I don't think they've pissed off anyone. It's just they're a victim of such a huge tag division and not everyone could be pushed at the same time. But yeah, I thought it sucked for Santana and Ortiz, really.
Yeah, I feel the same. It was just a their match, which is, not what we should be saying for these guys, really. And I think I really disagree with the decision, which I don't find myself doing with AEW a lot. And that took me out a bit further because we love LAX Brown and Powerful. They're incredible. Their series with Sami Callihan back in Impact a couple of years ago was some of the best stuff of the year.
And the OG stuff was incredible.
Oh, God, yeah, sorry, the OG stuff as well. And I was so excited for them coming to AEW. And they haven't, unfortunately, done anything beyond being the comedy goofs for Inner Circle. And now even Inner Circle now, with Sammy suspended, Jake Hager losing in the previous match, Jericho, I love it, but essentially in a comedy feud, and Proud and Powerful losing here. It's a bit sad to see how Inner Circle have gotten here. I know they were pushed very, very strongly, but now I think they're worth more than this.
You know how you said when FTR had their debut match against Butcher and Blade, where you were like, it was a good match, but it's not the match that they really needed to have to kind of convert some of the people who were like, I didn't really get a lot of their stuff that they did in WWE. I think they're overhyped. I still think Santana and Ortiz haven't had that match yet. They had a great match with the Bucks at Revolution last year, Full Gear last year, rather. But the takeaway of that match was the Rock and Roll Express doing the Canadian Destroyer. So, I don't think Santana and Ortiz have had that killer performance in AEW yet. But at the same time, I don't think they've been afforded the opportunity to have that killer performance that they can have.
Yeah. The best thing they've done is that Santana promo on Jon Moxley.
Yeah. God, that was good as well.
Which was incredible, but, and it's a great find to discover this whole dimension to a performer that, previously we didn't know about. But yeah, it's not the in-ring wrestling that we know they're very good at. After that, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page cut a promo. Kenny did his Bullet Club good night line, which was fun.
Well, we had also had Jericho getting very hot at Cassidy.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah. So, because Orange Cassidy came out before the private party match with Jericho calling him Dip S-word Cassidy. And I like Jericho's rationale for not attacking him, being like, I've got my match with him next week. I'm not going to attack him now because I get him in the ring next week. I get what I want next week. And Cassidy didn't do anything, but Jericho still got annoyed. So he sat there the whole match being like, I'm not going to attack, I'm not going to attack, I'm not going to attack. And then he just flips out and he goes to attack and gets super hot. Cassidy just gets up and effectively walks away. He accomplished exactly what he wanted to do. And Jericho had to be pulled apart while he was screaming that he's having a match with him next week. I thought it was really good.
It was so funny. Jericho is outraged. Jericho is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Then we got the Page and Omega promo. Then we got one of the best things on the show. You've already alluded to it.
Oh, man.
So Taz and Cage come out. And this was just after the announcement. They run through all the matches for next week's night 2 of Fyter Fest. And then they said Mox and Brian Cage will take place the week after that with Fight for the Fallen, which was, the sort of mini pay-per-view event they did last year. And Taz and Cage come out and Taz just says, the only thing Mox has tested positive for is chicken S-word.
This was so great. He says, you probably expect us to be really pissed off, but we're not. We're actually okay because Mox, and he cuts this. This was so great because this promo on Mox saying, you're saying that you are, I guess I've had this great conversation with Tony Khan, who told me that you've told him that you're not coming here because you want to protect all the boys in the back. But I know that you've been tested twice for COVID-19 and you've been negative both times. So, and if you came here again to AEW, you'd be tested for a third time because this is not a sloppy shop. Shooting on WWE there. So the only thing that you're testing positive for right now is chicken S-words. And that's it. And he just sort of like dropped the mic. He was like, we'll see you at Fight for the Fallen. We'll just take the title off you then because you're scared. It was incredible. Taz is awesome.
As soon as he brought up COVID, it was like that magic switch where it made my head go from, I'm watching a wrestling show, I'm writing my notes, to, holy crap, they're having a fight.
Yeah.
I just completely bought into it. Excellent promo work. And the main event was Hangman Page and Kenny Omega defending their tag team titles against the Best Friends. Best Friends made one of the best entrances in recent times, where it's kind of like how FTR arrive in their Jeep.
Yeah, I felt this was a way to have a dig at FTR.
It was a, more family style car that pulls up into the arena, and Trent and Chucky get out and say bye to Trent's mum, Sue.
And she says, as they were leaving, have fun.
It was such, and then like Page and Omega come out separately, separate entrance music, very professional, holding the titles. Just a really, really effective, subtle way to get over that professional wrestlers versus friend wrestlers dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. There was also some really good stuff here from Baker as well, because they have to walk past Baker's Rolls Royce in order to get to the ring. And she is looking at them being like, what is this? Being really confused by it. But then as soon as she realized that the camera was on her, she just starts smiling for the camera, being like, hi, I'm Britt Baker. I'm the role model. That was really good, solid stuff. And yeah, this was really good. I really, really enjoyed this match. But it was the post-match that I enjoyed way, way more. Like, I loved the post-match of this. But the match itself was great. Like, it was really, really good. But I was maybe this is all on me for setting expectations too high. It needed another 10 minutes. Really, I felt like it was just getting into its final gear before it came to an abrupt end.
Yeah, I think it went under 15 minutes, which that's a decent chunk of time. That's how long the opening tag title match, tag team match went. Sorry, but I preferred Omega's matches with Trent back in the QT Marshall gym days, back in March, April. It was all really good stuff. It was a really good match, but it's also a match that's been building for a couple of months now, and it's the de facto main event of a TV level pay-per-view. With some of the best wrestlers in the world and the talent in the ring. So I am very, very willing to take responsibility for having high expectations, but looking at it on paper, the history of what AEW delivers, I don't think this reached their own high bar.
To put a more positive spin on this, there were two moments of this match that I really, really liked. And that was the fact that the Best Friends had the match won with Storm Zero. Like, they had it won. They had Page beat to right, and Omega made the save. And they really put over on commentary, if it wasn't for Kenny Omega, they would have lost the tag titles there. And then the fact it's Page that picks up the win for the team without the help of Omega, I think, and then like that in itself, those are two separate things. But when you tie that into the post-match at the end here, because FTR come out to sort of watch the match for a little bit, they're offering beers to the commentary team, this, that, and the other. And afterwards, they come down and, trying to be as friendly as possible, they give them some beers. And Page is great. He's drinking the beers. He loves the beers. Gives it to Kenny, who's teetotal. And so Kenny is just, thank you very much. Clink the drinks. But I'm just going to pour this drink out. And why I love this is that FTR likely know that he's teetotal, right? And so they gave it to him to be a dick. But you could also make the argument that we're new around here. We didn't know that. And you've just poured out that beer, which is incredibly disrespectful. And so there's so many levels that it sort of works on. And then the Bucks come down to make the save. And the final shot of this show was the Young Bucks pulling back Kenny Omega from shouting with FTR, and Hangman Page on the side of FTR shouting at Kenny Omega for being disrespectful.
Oh.
And you tie that into those spots I talked about in the match. That's why I loved this post-match. I loved the post-match way more than I did the actual match, because we're getting back into what we were loving earlier this year, which is that the problems between Omega and Paige.
It's so beautifully told for a wrestling storyline. It's absolutely phenomenal. The Omega stuff, yeah, I guess FDR, it's that brilliant sort of out clause that it could totally be a ploy to start a fight with someone where you knock over someone's, you just bump into someone in a pub and then you go, all right, mate, what are you doing? They started the fight, but really you did because you were looking for it. But at the same time, it's a bit rude, Kenny.
Yeah,
these guys gave you a drink. There are different ways. I would have either gone, oh, thank you so much, I don't drink. That's probably what I would have done. If I didn't want to offend them, I would have done, oh, thank you. And then I would have just held it and not swigged, maybe put it down. And then maybe I would have said, no, give it to Hangman Page. He loves booze. He should have two. So I'm a bit like, Kenny, man, I get you're a teetotal person and that's great, but you're a dick here.
Well, that's why I think Kenny, in Kenny's mind, about like we are way, fantasy booking this, but in Kenny's mind, he knows that FTR know that he's teetotal and have given it to him to be a dick. So he's just pouring it out to be like, guys, you know that I don't drink. Yeah. So I'm just going to pour this out to show you that I know that you know. But also, as you said, you could look at it from another side being like, they just didn't know, mate. They didn't know that you were teetotal and you were very rude in pouring out that drink.
50 Shades of Grey and then some. This is great storytelling. So overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Ollie hates this episode. But I went in thinking it was going to be closer to 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I
woke up this morning with like that already in my head, to be honest, of being like, man, what a stacked card. I cannot wait to watch this show. This is going to be awesome. And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, it was a 4 out of 5 show, a predictably solid episode of Dynamite. But, you have lofty expectations. And sometimes those lofty expectations are set by you, the viewer. Sometimes they're set by the promotion. And in this case, I think it's a little from column A, a little from column B. And I did enjoy the show. I loved it from top to bottom. It just wasn't the blowaway show that I was kind of hoping that it would be. But I did love that post-match. I loved the Shida Ford match. But yeah, I thought the main event needed another 5-10 minutes in ring action.
Yeah, well, let's see what you guys thought on the super chats. Thank you very much to our moderators, Mod Mother Jenna up in the chat and everyone else helping her. So on the subject of Hager and Cody, Phoenix writes, Hager's wife has the it factor, but the unlikable it factor. Her natural aura is just annoying. I love it.
I love that she is the uncrowned Miss America. That's a really great gimmick.
Jake Hager is rock hard, says he is rock hard.
He is rock hard.
Is this a new nickname?
I think this is a new nickname. Yeah.
It's very good.
It's really good.
Gavin Elks, did you see Cody's new t-shirt? The American Nightmare Cody in the style of the original Great American Bash logo. Love the little dogs.
I wasn't sure if that was meant to be Love the Little Digs to NXT, but you also might have just loved the little dogs that are going to be in the Battle Royal next week. But yeah, I did enjoy that t-shirt. Also, I don't know if you've seen this photo going around as well, but did you see the Great American Bash banner that they had at NXT?
Oh, no.
So it's the Great American Bash banner with an NXT logo, but people with a very keen eye have noticed that the NXT bit was just plastered over the old WWE logo because it's the same banner that they used from the WWE Great American Bash shows. And you can just see the scratch logo underneath. Everyone was like, yeah, but I'm sure this was the plan all along to have this 2-week event.
I mean, let's not rule out WWE's graphic design department also not caring for about 4 years now. Dip Giotti Paul says Jake Hager made me bored and I flipped the channel.
Yep, I think that's totally plausible.
My mind wandered when I was watching the match.
I'd be very interested to see the ratings pattern for that match in particular.
Ejam King. I never saw Hager's run in WWE, but he wrestles like a big guy and I don't mind watching him. Do you think because you have seen him as swagger, it affects your view of him? Also love your consistent content.
It's probably a good point, actually. Yeah, Ejam King. I think that might be something to do with it, yeah.
But also I don't think he's. I mean, I said it. I don't want to be that guy, but I did say it from the start. As soon as he came back in AEW, I was like, he's, this is good, but it's not. And he's worked very well in the Inner Circle faction, but he's just not of a certain level of screen presence, I think, that this role deserves, although they've packaged him very well.
James Handley, on the subject of best friends versus Page and Omega, said best friends should have been in car seats.
And they've been very good with sippy cups.
Carlo Morrisell says Hangman and FTR versus the Elite guys. See the ending from the pull apart. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Josh Dominic's main event definitely didn't meet the expectations, but was still good. The closing segment with Hangman defending FTR popped me. Yeah,
great angle. Yeah.
And said, confirmed on the post show, that was Trent's real mum. I didn't doubt that for a second.
That's brilliant. Yeah, she looked real. She was in the crowd as well. They cut to her. That was very good. Didn't have a mask on, though. We did criticize WWE for friends and family in the crowd, so maybe we should do the same.
Maybe she got tested, though. Yeah. On the subject of Inner Circle, although you should all wear your masks, don't be low-key. Malcolm Brown says, is Inner Circle losing part of a bigger story? Yeah, because they have been on, this sort of big losing streak at the moment. I've got Jericho down to win next week because I think it's going to set up a bigger match for All Out with Tyson. But yeah, there is an argument to be made that Cassidy beats him next week, and that is they lost the Stampede match. They lost all their matches at Fyter Fest. What is next for the Inner Circle?
Potentially. I think they just don't feel like a coherent unit really at the moment. Before they would always come out together. They'd always have someone in each other's corner. But they haven't. It hasn't felt that way since
lockdown.
Since lockdown, yeah. Shannon Smith. Oh, sorry. You're still doing it.
I was going to say, but we've passed over 100 days in UK lockdown. Man, crikey. Shannon Smith says, I think Inner Circle is being booked to lose for the split. Jericho got everyone over time to move on. The Sammy seed was already being planted.
Yeah, I thought, well, maybe whatever's happened there, the Sammy suspension has kind of disrupted that. Even then, I wouldn't have done the breakup for a year max.
Yeah, I'll let you continue.
AEW Miscellaneous Phoenix, thank you very much for your generous super chat. That opening tag match blew me the frick away. The amount of stuff they did that could have been so easy to screw up kept me on the edge of my seat. Plus, I'm so sold on Wardlow. He comes off as unstoppable.
Yeah, I was quite a cynical man when Wardlow when he had his first promo package was it on the first episode of Dynamite?
I think it was All Out.
Was it All Out? I can't remember. I knew it was early doors in AEW's lifespan, but I was being like, oh man, you couldn't get Brian Cage, so you just got this guy instead, being very snarky about it. But he's great. He's really, really good. And a lot of people told us that at the time. So, I'm going to doff my cap to those people and have some humble pie that I was very wrong.
And the AEW have booked him perfectly. Just the right amount of glimpse about how great he is. Axe Adapter. I thought Penelope Ford wasn't that good last night. Her offense looked a bit half-assed, especially those forearms. Shida was awesome, though. Wish she had a better opponent.
I'm going to disagree with that one.
Yeah, I thought her offense was, really, really good. Dylan from Cork. Hey, MJF versus Heyman in a promo battle would be insane.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Oh my God. Scott Dupuy, did you notice that there weren't any tag ropes?
I did not notice that. Huh. Because, FTR were making a big point about them using the tag ropes, and JR, maybe it's just them that have the tag ropes. I don't know.
Nick Ward, really enjoyed the show, thoroughly entertained and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, same here, actually.
Very good. Eddie Good, first super chat. First, I want to say I've been supporting you for years. Thank you. You guys are effing amazing. But did anyone notice Paige put up the 4 during his promo?
I didn't spot that. I'm sure loads of people in the comments have been sort of shouting at us for not picking up on that, but I didn't see that one.
I think over 4 people have now teased the 4 on AEW. Yeah. We can't remember that the fortune in TNA it was 5 people. Never liked that. No. Still Wrestling Miss. Christopher Jazzcat, more New Japan content, please. Seen the New Japan Cup?
I haven't seen much of it yet, but as we've talked about many times on this show, when we have covered New Japan in the past, people aren't interested. Unfortunately, the audience that we have here at WrestleTalk aren't really into New Japan, so that's why we don't cover it as much as perhaps we'd like to.
Aquante Hunter, this week's rating is going to be very interesting. 2 real solid shows. Both main events were great, but we're missing something.
Oh, that's interesting because I haven't seen anyone say that the Shirai Banks match was missing something. I'm gonna try and watch it tomorrow. I have not had the time to do it today. But yeah, I'm gonna try and check it out tomorrow.
I'll just do these last 2. Seth Amphetamines. Have either of you ever tried any psychedelics? Feel free not to comment. Just curious.
Personally, no.
I will say, I will feel free not to comment. Christopher Jazzcat. Will watch after I've seen AEW, but here's a $5 towards Luke's next Raven shout out. He's still the exalted one to me, damn it. Very good, Jazzcat.
That Raven shout out was so funny.
Of course. Well, I was going to say Jazzcat was the man who was saying it was definitely going to be Raven as the exalted one.
So he predicted it was going to be Raven, and then Raven was in the crowd for that Dark Order match. So he was straight there to be like, I told you guys it was Raven. We've got one from Gary Pierce over on WrestleTalk.com/support saying, thanks for the consistently consistent content, guys. Jam that jam. Happy birthday, Chopper.
Ah, thank you. And yes, always happy birthday, Chopper. That's all we've got time for today. Please go and watch the WrestleTalk news that went up earlier by clicking the video on screen somewhere. And we'll have an NXT review with Adam Blombier and Laurie Blake for you later on today. So subscribe to make sure you get notified about that first. Also go over to WrestleTalk.com. It's really good. And buy a t-shirt. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. And that was Wrestling. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Ta-ra.
See ya. Bye-bye.